Can you first just start out by kind of explaining your role, what you do here at St. Stephen's?
Well, thank you, Sarah, for the opportunity. When I first came into this work of ending people's homelessness, I was in direct service, and I worked with people in shelter and who were sleeping outside. And after maybe a year in this work, I thought I knew why people were homeless. They were homeless because of mental illness or chemical dependency or poverty or racism. But now, after nearly 20 years, I have a new answer when people ask me why we have homelessness. And my new answer is because it's the public's will. And I say that a bit provokingly, but because I can demonstrate that people are not choosing to be homeless and that we are actually wasting money by having people be homeless. And we see that every day in how we house people in the hospital, in shelter, in detox, and in jail. There's a parable that we've been talking about in our community about a baby floating down the river, and you grab the baby out of the river, and here come two babies, and you ask me to help you, and you and I grab the two babies out, and then here come 4 babies, and we grab more people, and 8 babies, and 16 babies, and none of us have time to run upstream and see where all these babies are coming from because it's too important that we pull them out of the river. Well, about a year and a half ago at St. Stephen's, we decided that we really need to spend some more intentional time running upstream. And so we created our community engagement department because we need help. We need help from the public, from elected officials, from faith communities. And while we may need the charitable help, we also need some systems change. It's funny, you know, people will think that panhandling is their only exposure to homelessness. And in reality, there are more homeless in elementary schools than there are panhandling. There are more homeless working day labor than there are panhandling. There are more homeless seniors than there are panhandlers. But somehow in our brains, we've come to believe that homelessness looks like somebody flying a cardboard sign. And I think that can only change through community education and conversation. And so our work right now in the Community Engagement Department is to perform theater in which we have people who have experienced homelessness working with people who have never been around homeless people. And it's funny and entertaining, but it's also educational. We have a day in the life, which is a program where you would spend a half day or a full day partnered in a small group with a person who's experienced homelessness, taking you from stop to meet a family at a shelter, or to meet a youth at a youth program, or to get a meal for $2.20, which is what a family or individual would receive in food stamps. And then our work, of course, with public presentation and education. So we refer to the folks who are homeless who work with us as community educators. And rather than saying, this is Sarah, she used to be homeless, we would say Sarah is a community educator with St. Stephen's Human Services. Maybe she's been a cancer patient while homeless or worked in retail while homeless, and here's her story. And it's a way for people who've experienced homelessness to also be able to give back and feel like they're making a contribution in educating the broader public.
Can you talk a little bit about what keeps you motivated to do this work that's so challenging and so important in the community?
Well, I think I am fortunate in that I feel a little bit of a calling to do this work, and I don't mean for that to sound necessarily religious, more that something struck me when I was exposed to the issue of homelessness. And I think a lot of people who are in this work, either as volunteers or as professionals, feel some attachment to the work, either because they themselves have experienced trauma, mental health, chemical health, homelessness, and want to see systems change. So part of it is, fortunately, a passion in me, and I feel fortunate that I've found work that's meaningful to me. I think other things that inspire me are that I'm surrounded by people whose condition is a lot worse than mine, and they haven't given up. Despite what people think, that people might be choosing to be homeless, all day long, agencies like St. Stephen's receive calls and people at our door saying, "Can you please help? At your earliest convenience, can you please call me? God bless you." And so when people who, I don't know that I would be so polite if I didn't know where I was going to sleep tonight, are patient when we say, "Give us 4 months. We should have a place for you for sure in 4 months, hopefully." When the public gets irritated that they have maybe contacted us about someone and they're still out there, and we say, "Give us 4 months," and they say, "What? 4 months?" Imagine how it is when we have to say that to someone who is homeless. So I think part of it is I want to be bolstered by the people we work with and by their resiliency, and that's part of my inspiration. I think another inspiration for me is, and the good fortune of doing this work in the community, is that I get to meet a lot of people who care. And every week I get to meet new people who care. And I can't tell you how heartwarming that is for me, because sometimes in the years that I was working in a church basement, in a shelter, or in a drop-in center, I'm surrounded, all of us, my colleagues, are surrounded by people in poverty every day. And we may not know as much about the people who are down at the Capitol fighting, or who are at their faith community having a meeting about what we can do, or even at the police department saying, "This isn't working, we need to work with the homeless advocates." And so it's really exciting to know that our pool is, I guess to use a sports analogy, our bench is running deeper and deeper, and that help is coming.
Can you talk too about some of the success stories here at St. Stephen's that have, really buoyed you in the work that you do?
Yes, and it's challenging because so often we're focused on the problem, because the problem's in front of us, and the people who have now moved into housing and are at home watching Jeopardy aren't as much of a concern. And so we tend to forget about them because we have a new person with a lot of crises in her life who's down in the lobby right now trying to figure out what to do tonight. We've moved seniors into senior housing, and I think of Ed and Puffy, and Ed was paying $90 to rent a parking stall downtown in the North Loop. And he was an 83-year-old World War II veteran with a broken down RV. And he lived in that place with Puffy, and he said, "I love Puffy and Puffy loves me, and if Puffy can't go into shelter, then I won't either." And he would buy some propane in the coldest of months and leave that RV with his walker and walk to a place to eat or to see us. He's been in senior housing now for probably 3 years. I don't talk to Ed much anymore. I don't hear from Ed anymore, because now those basic needs have been met, and now he can build a life in his senior community. He can focus on, what am I going to get Puffy for a toy versus Puffy's cold. And he can think about things beyond his most basic needs. It's really exciting when we have younger people who stabilize. The image that's behind me is of a young homeless youth. Her name is Hannah. And Hannah had made this painting. She's a lovely artist of someone panhandling, but actually the sign says, keep your coins, we need change. And a lot of people might think, oh, you're a homeless advocate, you're gonna say give your money to panhandlers and be very bleeding heart perhaps. But actually Hannah's message, and I think the message for a lot of us through the broader Coalition for the Homeless and some of our legislative pursuits, is that it's real change that's needed in systems, in preventing people's homelessness, in quickly getting them out of homelessness. Now Hannah lives in supportive housing. She is an art student at MCTC, and I don't hear much from Hannah anymore either. So sometimes the solutions are a little bit bittersweet because I grow to care about people and then I never see them again.
What about other people who are in the community and want to get involved, want to do something to help end homelessness? What would you say to them? What should they do?
Well, I get asked a lot by people, oh, I should make sandwiches, I should volunteer in the shelter. And I say, actually, the first thing you could do is a little bit of what you're doing right now, and that's taking the time to learn. And at St. Stephen's, one thing we talk about is that learning is service. And you taking a few minutes or an hour and a half with a presentation from our community engagement group, or spending a day just learning, really is of great service to us, because I think the more you understand the real needs, perhaps you won't take action that isn't necessarily the greatest need. When we talk about the ways people can be involved after learning, we kind of break it into 3 areas, and that would be advocacy, direct service, or financial support. Now, the financial support could be even changing the way that you provide financial support to a more meaningful way. So it might be people who do a box vigil, kids sleeping in boxes, and what we'd rather do is draw the attention to the fact that there are many more homeless in elementary schools than there are in boxes. In fact, in 20 years, I have never seen a person sleeping in a box. And I actually work with people sleeping outside. So that could be a way, just by talking to the homeless community and shifting how you do fundraising, that could be of more benefit. With advocacy, that's that running upstream, that helping us with your elected officials. And a lot of people will say, well, Monica, I just don't have the facts. You're so much more educated than me. I don't know what I would say. And I will say, well, first of all, do you know the 10 people who represent you in elected office at the city, county, state, and federal level? And do you know their names? And do you have their number in your cell phone? And would you be willing to call each of them just once per year, which means you get 2 months off? Well, Monica, I don't know what I would say when they answer the phone. And I say, you know what? You can call at 9 o'clock tonight when you know you're going to get voicemail, and you don't even have to have an answer. You get to ask the question. You get to say, you know, when I pull off 94 and there's this person panhandling, that bothers me, or that frustrates me, or that I have fear. Or when I hear that every school in Minneapolis has homeless children in it, every elementary school, every high school, and certainly in other school districts throughout the state, that really concerns me. It concerns me for my children, the children in my neighborhood. How are you, my elected official, a part of the solution? Please call me back. Guess what? They do. They do call back, because you're their constituent. You have a power that I don't have. I might have more data, but I'm not their constituent. And so that can be of great service to us. Now, the direct service obviously can be volunteer activities, and for that I just say pick a population that's of interest to you. Maybe it's women, Maybe it's youth. Maybe it's reading to children at the children's family shelter. Maybe your father lived with alcoholism and you never had a good relationship and you wish you did. And so you have concern for men with alcoholism getting off the street, or veterans. Pick that population and we can find a way to connect you.
Thank you so much, Monica.
Thank you.